Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
From Super Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center, New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Sleeping Saturday. I hope you all got a chance to get a couple hours extra of sleep. And I did. I stayed up late and woke up at a late 5:30 today. Woo!
Living the life, Raghu.
I mean, if you sleep 6 hours, it's like even if you go to 11, you're still waking up at 5. Thank you, sir. My sick. Oh, it's from you. My beautiful son brought me a glass of water. That is what 16 looks like. Oh, it's warm coconut water. Great. How are you, Kastuba? You got your jet lag over yet?
No, I woke up at midnight.
You woke up at midnight, like wide awake, looking around at stuff.
But I don't mind at all. It was productive time.
Yeah. Don't take a nap. You can't get it if you take naps. Alrighty. So if you're listening to this on Facebook, welcome everybody. This is our Wisdom of the Sages podcast, and today is a Q&A day where we take in a bunch of questions that people have given. We try our best to answer them, and then Monday we are back to the usual study of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Tomorrow we're taking a day off. Kastuba needs a break. No, we're taking a break off. We're just taking a break. We're just taking a break, and we're not going to give you a reason why. How about that? We're just taking the day off.
Because we're disorganized. Because
yeah, we're just working on stuff.
Yeah,
plowing the driveway.
Monday is Gaur Purnima, the divine appearance of Sri Chaitanya, is celebrating the divine appearance of Sri Chaitanya. So maybe we got a
very special show planned for them.
We got something very special for that day.
Something very special that we're going to figure out after the show privately.
All right.
Yeah.
Any other announcements, Mara?
Yeah. Oh, she's got an announcement. She's fluttering around like a busy butterfly.
Sorry, I'm having trouble streaming to Facebook. We have we have Bhakti Recovery Group meetings at 9:30 and 12:30 today. Nityananda Chandra's Shloka memorization group is at 10 a.m. today. And then Jivaji is offering her free webinar at 1 p.m. on what the 12 steps are and how it relates to Bhakti. So you can DM Bhakti Recovery Group on Instagram if you're interested in joining.
DM Bhakti Recovery Group on Instagram.
Yeah. All righty. On with the show.
You're ready to just dive right into it today, Rogan.
I can squirrel if you want.
No. No need. There's a lot.
I had a weird Krishna miracle.
Okay.
I had a weird Krishna miracle. I was there was this guy I used to do jujitsu with who became sort of a famous comedian. It was back, that's how I met Joe Rogan. And I was laying in bed for some reason thinking about him. And I get this message from out of the blue from Cindy Lunsford. Hey, I'm going to see this, because me and Cindy Lunsford like comedians. And she goes, hey, I'm going to go see this comedian tonight in Nashville. And I was like, I don't know if that's a Krishna miracle, but it's some type of weird miracle.
Hold it. Why was that a miracle?
Because I was just thinking about him, and he's not like he's, Steve
total
Martin.
Miracle.
right? Isn't that a miracle?
I don't think that does not qualify as a miracle. That's called coincidence right there.
Well, what are the chances of a
Literally.
coincidence then? Okay. Look, I think coincidences are miracles. I'm
Yeah,
thinking
you
of a
see,
guy.
but you're the only person that thinks that. That's
No,
why.
come on. You can't have that is too weird.
Okay.
I think there's just magical things happening in the universe.
Well, I mean,
at all
that's true.
times.
In one sense, everything's a miracle if you really get into it, isn't it?
I get it. The grass is a miracle, but I'm thinking of a random, weird, obscure comedian just laying in bed. I never think of comedians in bed in the morning. And then she's like, hey, the first message I see is, hey, I'm going to see this comedian tonight. That's a Krishna miracle.
Okay.
Maybe he's meant to be a devotee of Krishna. Maybe you got to meet him backstage and talk to him about Krishna. I'm sure he'll ask about me, and I'm sure, yeah.
I'm sure he's thinking
Joe
about
Rogan
you
all the time.
right now.
Yeah, she's probably thinking like, I got to make
No,
City
no.
Lunsford. It's up to you to make this a Krishna miracle.
Right.
Okay, you got to go meet him, give him a Bhagavad Gita, and say, you know what? I think Yoga Ray would like you to have this.
Okay.
All right.
Hey, could you pull your camera down just a bit?
You don't like sing like
Frame
There
it
we
there.
go.
There we go. Good. Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
all
you
right.
ready?
Yeah, let's dive into the questions.
Okay. Well, do you want me to read the first one? It's for both of us.
Yeah. When are you ready?
Okay. So this is coming from, this is a heavy question. This is coming from Danielle. I think this is Danielle Brigham. Now, a friend who's, a regular Zoomer. She writes, I've been so absent. I think that means she's saying I've been absent from being on Zoom in the mornings.
Okay.
I've been so absent, but I speak to Krishna daily still. What I want to know is...
Then she's not absent.
And she's a good point, or that's nice. She writes, what I want to know is, why do we have to experience loss in this world? The loss of loved ones. Will we be reunited one day? What does scripture say about this? And then she says, I'm missing my dad terribly, because I don't remember if it was COVID related, but her father passed away. I think it was in 2020. So she said, I'm missing my dad terribly. My heart goes out to everyone grieving. I don't get it. It's so painful. Okay. Raghunath, do you want to start with that?
Yeah. First of all, heart goes out to you and loss. I was thinking about this morning, and I was thinking how in Krishna consciousness, we have a new relationship with loss and with love. And I know that, for example, let's put ourselves in a situation of an alcoholic.
Okay.
An alcoholic may experience another friend who's an alcoholic that dies. And the alcoholic that's living is saying, so much pain, I don't understand. Nothing made sense. I'm feeling so much grief. I'm heartbroken. It's just like a complete mystery. And then that person is lost. And then everybody around them is sort of like also sort of lost. The best thing we can do for ourselves to cope with that loss is for us to become very God conscious. Is for us to at least first maybe stop drinking alcohol. And when I stop drinking alcohol, then I'll actually see things a little bit more in perspective of what happened. Maybe the alcohol caused the death or something like that. We get a little bit more perspective. I'm using this analogy to just bring back to our intoxication in the material world. So in the same way, when I become a little bit more God conscious, both the excitement of love and the complete distress and brokenness we feel when someone we love dies, or even the incredible anguish of betrayal, these things, there's a little bit more light shined on those shadows, and there's a little bit more of some clarity, because our life becomes a little bit more framed out, and we become a little bit more thoughtful. And part of that process is I don't own, I don't control. And I find in my life as a father, right? As, as a father and a person who's been in other relationships, is I'm not meant. This process of bhakti is here to refine my love. Right? Did you ever meet someone who loves somebody or professes love, but they're trying to control that person? Like really trying to control that person, but it's like, I love you. Don't you understand how much I love you? And the person just feels completely controlled and helpless and stuff like that. So in the process of bhakti, I'm learning how to re-love again. How can I love but without possession? So that doesn't mean we're not going to be heartbroken when our guru leaves the planet, or someone we love, or parent leaves the planet that we're very close to. That doesn't mean that loss won't be there, but it'll be a very, almost like it will have a little bit of better footing to deal with that loss. And this is not saying that, you're not so spiritual and that's why you're feeling the loss. I think to really come to terms with this, like the Bhagavad Gita says, the wise lament neither for the living nor the dead. The first time I heard that statement, I was like, who are these callous people who don't feel pain? Are we just a bunch of, robots? But no, there is pain and there is loss and there is grief, but it's lessened. It's lessened in the same way, when we become, in the same way when the light is shined on something, we understand that maybe it's not a monster in the closet, but it's something banging against the closet door that sounds like something. So yeah, I think the best thing we can do for ourselves is become more and more God conscious. And that in turn will not only help us, it'll even help that deceased person, which is like an important thing, because it's not like it'll help that because that person has love even presently towards you. They get benefit from loving a great soul, to the degree that, if this is Danielle, she becomes a great soul, a Mahatma. The people that all love you make benefit without you preaching to them or trying to convert them to anything, but you just becoming a great soul. They're making benefit. It's the best thing you could do for yourself, but it's the best thing you could do for everybody that loves you. Does that make any sense?
It makes perfect sense, Raghunath. You said a lot of things that I really liked hearing. But before I respond to those, I thought, let me just mention this one thing. And this is, of course, it's something that doesn't necessarily change, but hopefully it's something that you bring into your grief. And that's the simple idea that this is the way that this world works, is that with time, the pain of your grief will reduce. That's how the world works. And the meaning of the grief and the meaning of the relationship that you had with this person will take on a sweeter kind of feeling when you reflect on your relationship with your father. Now it feels like pain, and given some time, when you reflect on him in the future, it'll feel sweeter, softer, sweeter. That's generally how this world works. So that's something. Raghunath, you mentioned something. You said that, I forget exactly how you phrased it, but you said something along the lines of that this practice of bhakti is here to refine my ability to love. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
And I like that. In one sense, I think we can expand that to say not just like the practice of bhakti, but in other words, this entire world is moving for one purpose. This is one way to look at the world. This is the way a bhakti yogi can look at the world. This entire world is moving, including the modes of material nature, including the law of karma, and including the very painful element of time, which takes away everything that we're holding dear, including the element of time. That all of these functions, they play a role in the operation of this world for one purpose and one purpose only, and that is to refine our ability to love entirely purely, right? So that's there. So why do we have to experience loss in this world? It's it is to get us back to that point of pure love. If this world were nothing but pleasurable, we would get lost in this very second rate at best world that we're living in, right?
Second rate love, third rate. It goes much lower than second rate too.
Yeah, yeah, it's much
Like
lower.
when I would say I would love, I'm thinking myself is in high school. I love that girl. Like, what was that based on? Like, it wasn't based on anything.
Okay,
It was,
but I think her love for her father there is something there.
sure, but I'm saying
and-
I'm saying in the depths of what we call love, and
Yeah.
and it is just some type of mental concoction that we've created, and she's obviously mature and she's a spiritual minded person, so it's much more refined than this person took care of me. It's this person has given so much, and she's remembering that.
So now let's look at this, and let's also look at this question of will we be reunited one day? Now I'm going to just say straight off, I can't answer that question for you.
You can't?
No.
What?
But I can speak to that question. Okay. And I mean, there's things that I can say in one sense, any desire can be fulfilled, right? For you to reconnect with that soul is definitely within the realms of possibilities. And if it's what you desire, it can certainly happen. That's my faith. But I think let's go deeper into this particular question and see how it might shed light on the broader question of why do we have to experience loss in life, Because to ask that question, will we be reunited one day? I believe I understand where that comes from. Is because of all the people in this world that you've experienced in life, right? Maybe more than anyone, or maybe there's just 2 or 3 people in your life that you have shared love with the way that you've shared love with this person. And that's been the most meaningful and important facet of your life, is the experience of sharing that love with this person. And you're looking around and you're saying, my God, there's so few people that I've ever shared love with this way. And now this person is gone. Is it forever? Will I ever have that opportunity to share love in that way again? The loss of that can be so painful and so devastating. Here's my point, is that what bhakti is pointing us to is, as Raghunath is saying, is that the entire process of life, we're meant to reflect on it in such a way that we do love more deeply, and that we begin to see the soul within every living being. Even if your father did a little something wrong, or even if other people didn't have the same relationship with your father as you do. Some people were friendly with him. I'd imagine there are probably a few people in this world that weren't so fond of him, and that he wasn't so fond of. But you knew him in a way that others didn't know. And so there was nothing preventing the love between the two of you from flowing back and forth. But when one becomes deeply, I don't know, deeply elevated is the right, it's kind of like contradictory, but in other words, when one becomes very deep in spiritual life, one becomes very elevated in spiritual life, whichever way you want to say it, one begins what manifests is that one feels love for God, the root of all existence, and through God for every living being. So there becomes it opens up the opportunity to the love that you share with this one person, you could actually feel that love for any and every living being. And when one reaches that stage, then your question, which is very sincere and pure-hearted, you view that question, will we be reunited one day? It's almost like you don't even need to ask that question, because the love that you shared with that one person, you're able to share that love with every living being in existence. That's where bhakti is headed. And the grieving in life that we experience is meant to help us understand, I don't have that vision yet. And this world, I was thinking, it's almost like asking this. It's like, say like you're living in, say Raghunath was like in jail doing serious time, right? I don't know what you did.
Oh, you do. Yes, you do.
Let's say it's not Raghunath. Let's say it's somebody else. Somebody else is in jail. And let's say that the entire experience is miserable. It's like the cell is miserable. It's cold. The bed is hard. It's just, there's, the food is terrible. The company, the people are dangerous and scary, but there's just like one moment in the day where you feel some relief, and that's like you go and you get your food, and even the food is junk, but like they give you some Jello, and that Jello, when you taste that Jello, it's the only sweet thing that you have in your entire life. Every day you get it, you enjoy it, and you're just waiting for that moment. You eat it, it goes down your throat, and that's over. And basically you're waiting for the next day when you get your Jello, the next day. And then say that, like, the warden comes up to you and says, we've been watching you and, your behavior and so on. We feel that you're ready. We're ready to seriously consider, your parole and to let you out. And then you turn to them and you say, but if I get parole and I leave here, will I still get the Jello? And they're like, well, there's plenty of Jello out there, but I mean, but will I get it? I need to know that I'm going to be able to get that Jello. And you're like, there's plenty of Jello. You can have all the Jello in the world out there. You can have stuff that's way better than Jello. But from the perspective of that person, they've lost, they become institutionalized, and they've lost. They don't have that vision of without the vision of what freedom is like. They're holding on to the idea. But will I get that Jello? It's a little something like that to say, will I be reunited with this one person? Because you have the potential to love every living being with the kind of depth that you love this one human being. That's what enlightenment looks like. And when you get there, and it's not that far away, Danielle, right? You've come so far in a cycle of, of birth and death through so many different species, through so many different circumstances, and you've come to bhakti, and you've taken it into your heart, and it means, in one sense, you're very close to walking out that gate. I'm not trying to minimize the love. In no way am I trying to minimize the love that you have for your father, but what I'm trying to say is that the potential of what real Krishna consciousness, real Krishna bhakti can manifest as is something that is so deeply satisfying that you won't need to ask that question anymore.
You know what Kostuba was talking about is big love. And when we live in a world of small love, it's hard to understand big love. But it's not what usually when people approach anything sort of spiritual, like a parent died, my dog died, things like that, they want to go to Tyler Henry. This is what me and Mara watched last night on Netflix.
Tyler Henry?
Have you ever watched Tyler Henry?
Never
Life
heard
After
it.
Death. It's a whole series of this. He's like a mystic.
Oh, what do you got now? Okay.
No, he's a mystic guy. He's a bona fide mystic.
Okay.
He just starts to scribble things, and he says, this is what you're, I sense there was an animal, and your animal is, it was very dear.
He's like Teresa Caputo.
I don't know who Teresa Caputo is, but anyway, they're mystic. They have some, what do they call it? Mediums. They're mediums, and they're relayed. So that's generally what we want to hear. It's a small type of like, how can in their spirit life, or in their subtle body, how can we connect? When can we reconnect? And sometimes the guy is so this guy Tyler Henry is so like magical. He's like, yeah, and she needs you to let go. Sometimes those little inklings of life after death info can like spark some hope and make the person cry and make the person say thank you so much. You're not going to get that from Kostuba. You know what I mean? Kostuba is like zooming way the heck out. He's not Tyler Henry. He's so much more. But you should understand, in that small sense of love between you and your dad, your spirituality is definitively helping him like crazy right now with whatever challenges he has to pass through. So we don't, I don't think we want to minimize the pain, the grief, the loss, but the way Kostuba is explaining is such a big love. It's like an otherworldly love, and that's sort of what we're signing up for: bhakti mysticism, as opposed to Tyler Henry mysticism. which is also a real thing.
Okay,
All
right.
real.
It's all real. I'm sure
All
every.
If you watch this show, Kostuba, you'll be like,
Okay.
this guy's
guy's
totally
real.
legit.
Okay.
Totally legit.
Now,
Completely unpretentious.
yeah, and to Danielle's question, it made me think of course, one place where it's common to go to is Queen Kunti's prayers to Krishna in the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam, where she actually begins to pray for those different. In other words, essentially her question: why do we have to experience loss in this world? It's because it's like that guy living in the prison might say, "I need to stay here just to get my Jello." No. There's freedom, and you're not meant to be here. You're meant to be experiencing something far more. And if there wasn't pain in this world, and if that pain wasn't deep, we wouldn't let go. And even when you have this knowledge of bhakti, you still feel that pain and you still feel that grief, but you view it in a different way. And it does become, I just got off the phone with my friend Tara, who, I was staying with in Mayapur, and it just, because he was going through some real tough stuff. I'm not going to say what it was, but it's some really challenging stuff, And so, so I was just checking up on him. Hey, how's this going? How's that going? And he just very calmly, with a little bit of humor, said, well, as far as the first point, and he described where that was at, and it was as bad as ever. And then the second thing, he described that, and that was also as bad as ever. And as bad, as painful, as difficult, as entangling, as just, some knotty, difficult, painful thing in life. They're both still there. They both haven't improved since I left. But he said, but you know what? The deities were very beautiful in the temple today. And my bathing in the Ganga was, entirely satisfying. He can frame the grief or the pain in life in context with his bhakti practice, and he's like, I'm ready to leave this world. Like, it's not that he's not being that he's not being responsible in this world, but he's also getting a very deep conviction that the things of this world, he's saying, I get a deeper satisfaction when I'm standing before the deities in the temple, when I'm bathing in the Ganga, I'm feeling a depth of happiness from that. And although these other things are very difficult and painful, I'm realizing that these are two things, that the spiritual world is totally satisfying to me, and I've come to accept that the material world is a wave of up and down, that is pleasure and pain, and that's what it is. I need to realize that, and the deeper I realize that, I'm able to let go and walk out the gate. And so this is why we have to experience pain. Queen Kunti, she gets that, right? She tells Krishna, let all the calamities in my life come again and again, because when I experience those calamities, I think of you, right? I think of you, and that gives, and that opens the door to liberation. So that's the idea. That's why these difficult, painful things are here, because there's something much better for us, and we have the tendency to hang on to something, even a prison cell, if we get a little jello in it, right? If we and so we need to break free. Let that grief be meaningful. Let it become a cause of a reflection of, yeah, I love my father. Yes, I want to see him again. That desire can be fulfilled. But let me help, let its meaning and its purpose play its role in my life, that I'm not meant for this world. I'm meant for pure love, and I want to be refined entirely for that, even if it means going through pain.
This is speaking to me today. Speaking to you? Speaking to me. I needed to hear this today too.
Me too.
It's amazing how similar we all are. This is not a squirrel. This is completely into what we're talking about, but it's just going to sound like a squirrel.
Someone a lot like a squirrel.
So even when I'm done. At some point in the podcast, I said, I always wanted a rock tumbler. I always wanted a rock tumbler, a rock polisher. And so on Christmas, I got this package in Amazon. It was a rock tumbler. Somebody from one of the Zoomers or others sent me as a gift, a rock tumbler. I re-gifted it to my son because it would look awkward if I had my own rock tumbler. Okay. I said, hey, look what you got, a rock tumbler. Santa got you a rock tumbler.
But you're playing with it every day?
Well, I thought it was going to be a lot more simple. I thought it was going to be, you throw in rocks, you go to bed, you wake up, and they're all these crazy colors. I thought too. And I thought it was too. It's like an investment of time. It's like, okay, the first stage is like what?
Go and
like
get
4
the rocks.
days of rock tumbling. and then you got to stop it, and then you got to add some other stuff powder to it, and then it's like, and in 11 days, I was like, what kind of kids can wait for their? We live in an instant gratification world, and so today is like, and so the background white noise of our house at Super Soul Farm is like this, and it's this whole rock tumbler thing that's been going on for this month. It's this month of tumbling, and we're all just tolerating it, waiting for the jewels to appear. And today happens to be the day. There's like 2 hours left in this machine. But
oh wow, I can't wait. You're going to show them to us tomorrow?
Yes, I'll show you the jewels.
Monday.
But I said to Mara, I was like, what is in this thing? What is it paint? I don't know if you've seen a polished rock. They're like incredible
shiny
colors and stuff like that. I was like, what is it? Paint or like a nail polish? And she said, no, it's grit. It's a type of grit. I was like,
oh, I know where you're going now.
You know where I'm going.
I know where you're going now. Yeah.
It's the grit. The color's already within the stone.
Right.
But you don't know until you get days and hours and right of
tumbling, grinding, of grit.
Grinding. We're getting ground, people.
This
was pain in my heart, in your heart, in Danielle's heart, in Tara's heart. It's shining us to be sparkling jewels.
Raghunath, that was not a squirrel. That came right around to the point. The squirrels just like they go off and they don't come back. That was,
and they have nothing that was a boomerang. To do with the stream of thought.
That was a boomerang.
You know?
Yeah. No, Prabhupada, I'm looking at Prabhupada's. Let me see if I can find this commentary that he makes on that in that Queen Kunti. The material world is certified by the Lord in the Bhagavad Gita.
The material world is certified?
He says the material world is certified by Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita as a dangerous place full of calamities.
Yeah.
That's how he describes this world, right? He doesn't say, hey, it's a big playground.
It's a big play. It's a beach. The material world's a beach.
No, he says it's a dangerous place full of calamities. What is it? Dukkhayalam ashashvatam, right? It's a place of suffering. He says less intelligent persons prepare plans to adjust to those calamities without knowing the nature of this place is itself full of calamities. If someone tells me, hey, Kasubi, you're going to have to go to prison next month. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's see. How am I going to make it nice in there?
Make it nice in prison.
You don't. It's a prison. The whole point is try to get out as quick as you can.
Right. They got basketball in prison, right?
Yeah.
They got a good weight room. Basketball. Lift weights. It's going to be great.
Yeah. So Prabhupada says the duty of a sane person, therefore, is to be undisturbed by the worldly calamities, which are sure to happen in all circumstances. Suffering in all sorts of unavoidable misfortunes, one should make progress in spiritualization because that is the mission of human life. So the grief that we suffer, it's related to that mission. It's the grit that we need so that our love can shine. Thank you, Raghunath.
The grit. Thank you, grit.
Thank you, grit. Okay.
You, grit. Give me the grit.
Bring on the grit.
That could be a good takeaway. Bring on the grit. I'm sick of the grit.
What does Mara know about grit? I never even knew there was like exactly stuff called grit. What do you mean grit? It's like gravel?
What is grit? Mara, quickly. She's got an answer.
Exactly. I just felt like I should.
Well, how do you know what grit is?
It's like a little packet of like coarse sand, and it comes in different varieties of coarseness.
Oh, so you go different levels, like sandpaper?
Yeah, so it gets finer and finer the more the rock gets tumbled. Like
grit.
Yeah. So this is stage 2 of rock tumbling that we're on.
Is there a third stage? Are we going to be in here for another couple? What?
Small loose particles of stone or sand. That's grit.
Yeah.
I totally got this wrong. There's another stage we're going through.
There's 2 more.
You got 2 more weeks of tumbling. And that's how spiritual life is too.
Of this?
They looked really pretty just after the first stage, though.
They better be like diamonds.
In Raghunath, that's what material life is too. We go through all this grit. We think, oh man, I've been through a lot, and then Krishna throws no, stage 2.
It's only gonna get worse.
and then you're on that deathbed and you're going through that pain. That's the final grit.
Yeah. It's like in the healthiest stages of our life where I'm healthy, I'm sharp. Any pain you got going now, I got news for you. This is all going to happen the same in our old age when the body's not working well, when
Right.
when our intelligence is a little foggy, when I'm covered in wrinkles and strange marks on my face. Yeah.
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 Oh, stage 3. We'll break out the bag. Here it comes. Grid level number 3.
Grit
Okay.
level 3. I'm at grit level 3 right now, I think. And I'm right. And I
We're
think
grid level number 3 from Bayonne, New
I
Jersey.
think as far as like the lifespan goes, if I get to old age, I'm at grit level 3. Mary, you're still
Let's
on
hope
2.
so.
Moses, Mallory, they're on 2 still. I'm on grit level 3.
Okay. Next question.
All right.
You read this one. This one's for me.
Okay. All right. This is from Farmer Jerry.
Farmer Jerry.
Like him already.
He's a Texas.
Farmer
other.
Jelly from Texas here again.
Jerry, not
My
Jelly.
line of questioning is similar to what I've asked before. I don't know what kind of box you'd put me in spiritually, whether you'd call me Gnostic, Christian, or Hindu. But my question is, when it comes to bhakti,
Yeah.
Bhakti, in my understanding, is living one's life as a service to God.
Okay.
I hear and read many verses on what bhakti is, but not how. How do we live our life as service to God?
Okay.
I have my hand in many pots career-wise, so it
Do you?
confuses me as to how I can offer everything back, even though I try, while still doing what I have to do to survive on this earth. Right? There's just, besides work, there's just like survival stuff. So any insight as to how would be much appreciated. I've listened to your show since the beginning, and I gotta say, keep it up. That's pretty amazing. People listen to the show from the beginning.
It is.
Hats off to Jerry the other.
Jerry the farmer.
Jerry the farmer, the other farmer from Texas.
Okay.
He actually calls himself
Farmer Jerry. Farmer Jerry is his name.
These
another.
others are quite amazing. They're out there mysteriously. And if they
They
write
are.
a question, then we find out about them. He's been listening every day.
Okay, so here we go, Jerry. This is a great question. It's very, it's a great question when someone's like, "How do I do this better?" Right? How do I understand this so I can do this better? These are good questions. So, I'm going to say let's do this, Jerry. Let's break bhakti into 2 categories of action, right? Because you're asking how, so like that means activity. So let's break it into 2 different categories of action. One of them are actions or activities, practices that are by nature. The activity itself is devotional. The activity of it itself is an act of bhakti. Okay, like for instance. And there we go, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smarana, right? There are different limbs of bhakti, and beginning with hearing and chanting, right? Hearing Bhagavatam like we do on the show every day. That is bhakti itself. I'm going to sit down, I'm going to hear Bhagavatam, especially when I can hear it from people that are like, have deep realizations about it, deep insights, or what to speak of love for God in their heart. Hearing from them. That itself, you're asking, how can I practice bhakti? Hearing that is an act of bhakti in and of itself. Chanting, right? Having your japa beads, right? Chanting Hare Krishna Maha Mantra with no motive except to please Krishna through that chanting, to become transformed so that you can become a better servant of Krishna. That activity in itself, that is bhakti. And there'll be other activities that are by nature bhakti, like going to the temple, and visiting, praying and meditating on the deities in the temple, et cetera, et cetera. There are certain activities and these should be in your life, to whatever extent you can infuse your life with these pure bhakti activities, go for it. Then there's the rest of your life that isn't by nature an offering to Krishna, right? And that may be, you say you have your hands in different, in many different, what do you say? No, pies or something? What, he had his hands in different.
I've got my hands in different pies. I think
he says, career-wise, I have my hand in many pots. He's got them in pots.
Got them in pots.
And so that may mean you have different jobs, and these jobs by nature don't seem to be related to Krishna at all, right? Now, but they can become infused with bhakti themselves. They can be practiced as bhakti. What one person is practicing someone may be doing, you may be right next to a person doing your job and they're doing the exact same job. And for them, it has absolutely nothing to do with their spiritual life. And for you, you're doing it purely to please God. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so let's say you have a job as like a bus driver, right? So one bus driver is just completely disconnected. They're driving the bus. Their only motive for driving the bus is that they get paid at the end of the month. So, and they know that they want that money for their pleasures and their comforts in life. You're driving the exact same bus every day, but you're doing it as an offering, and that offering can go on different levels of depth, right?
Mm.
Like it may be that you're driving the bus and you're not even thinking about Krishna all day. As a matter of fact, when you're in that bus, it's not like when you're home reading Bhagavatam or chanting your rounds. You're driving that bus and Krishna is the last thing on your mind. But at the end of the month, you take some of that money that you earned and said, all that time that I invested, this is the fruit of that work. And Krishna, I want to give this to you in some form, right? And you find a way to invest that money in a way that you feel will please Sri Krishna, right? Okay, now you've transformed that time into an offering to God. And that's one level, but it can go deeper. Like what if while you're driving that bus, not only are you going to give some of the fruits of it at the end, but even while you're driving, you're thinking of God. You're saying, I'm the bus driver of the people. I'm caring for these people on behalf of God. You know, I'm thinking of God. And as I drive even, you know, like Krishna tells Arjuna, even on the battlefield, what is it? Tasmat sarveshu kaleshu mam anusmara yudhyacha. He says, dear Arjuna, you know, think of me, always think of me, mam anusmara. Always be meditating on me, always be remembering me, yudhyacha, and at the same time, even while you're fighting, you know, even as you're engaged in this activity that on its own has no relation to bhakti, because you're remembering me when you're doing it, you've transformed it, you've brought it in, you've connected it to bhakti. So now you could be driving the bus and thinking of Krishna while you're driving and meditating on what you've been reading in Bhagavad Gita and meditating on what you've been reading in Bhagavatam. So even like, you know, in a practical way, say you're driving the bus and the first person that steps onto the bus is like, hey man, hey farmer Jerry, great to see you. I always look forward to seeing you every day when I get on the bus. And you're like, hey, well, I'd like to see you too. And everything's supposed to, and then the next person gets on the bus and says, farmer Jerry, I want to ride the bus for free today. And you're like, well, I really wish I could let you do that, but the rules don't allow. Well, I want to do it. And then they get upset with you for no reason, and it's no fault of your own. Now, how do you respond? Now you're reflecting on Bhagavad Gita, right? That the modes of material nature are pushing everybody. They're squeezing everybody. They're influencing everybody. And you're saying that although this person is being mean to me, they're starting to say nasty things to me. They're blaming me. But you're realizing that Krishna, what was he telling me in Bhagavad Gita today? To have a steady mind, right? Sometimes I'm being praised, like the first person that came on the bus. Sometimes I have someone just insulting me. I'm going to keep a steady mind, right? Why? So that I can offer that steady mind to Krishna, so that my mind becomes a place that's so pure and so peaceful that Krishna comes and sits there in my mind and stays there, right? He won't stay in a mind and in a heart that gets all disturbed by this kind of thing. You know, he's gone as soon as I get upset with this person, even though in a sense it's justified, it can be rationalized. No, I'm practicing what Bhagavad Gita taught me, even while I'm driving this bus. You know, I'm keeping my mind peaceful so that Krishna can sit there and I can remember him. You're practicing bhakti yoga now, right? So you're practicing it when you're at home. You're practicing it at the end of the month when you make some offering of the fruits of your work. You're even thinking of Krishna and practicing bhakti as you're driving the bus and going through the different things that you go through in life. So in this way, your entire life, 24/7, can become an offering, right? Find ways to connect it. Practice, do those practices that are pure bhakti. Those will, you know, this is how we understand bhakti, right? Nitya Siddha Krishna Prema, that it is the nature of every living being, that Krishna Prema, love for God, is our nature. It's situated within us. Sabya Kabunaya, that it's not something that comes from any other external source. It's already in us, just like the colors are in those stones, right, Raghunath? It's not that you have to pour polish on them. The color is in there, right? Shravanadi Shudachiti, Karaye Udaya. and simply by it says Shravanadi. Shravana means hearing, and Shravanadi means beginning with hearing. So it's referring to those 9 limbs of bhakti as they're described in Bhagavatam: hearing, chanting, etc. So Shravanadi Shuddha Chitte Karya Udai, by doing these, by engaging in these practices, that pure love that's within us, it arises, it awakens in the heart. And so do those, hear and chant, do those pure bhakti activities. And then as you go do your other duties, connecting them by offering the fruits, connect them by meditating on Krishna, by trying to follow this path, by taking what you hear and reflecting on it as you live your life in all those different pots that you have your hands in. And you'll find that my entire day has become an offering to Krishna. All right.
That was beautiful.
Thank you. Now, are you ready for a question, Mr. Beautiful?
Yeah, we got time for.
That's an inside joke.
Inside joke.
Okay. This is coming from Jacob Brown, who also happens to be a Texas other.
Something's happening in Texas.
Okay. So downtown Jacob Brown has this to say. Hey, Prabhus. Hi, my name is Jacob Brown, and I'm an other from Corpus Christi, Texas.
Oh.
Have you been to Corpus Christi before?
I think I played there once.
Okay. He's a daily listener.
It's a place, Corpus.
It is a place.
Texas. I like Texas.
Okay.
Texas
It's
is
on the
cool.
coast, right? It's by the Gulf.
Corpus Christi is by the it's on the
Like south of Houston, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, hi, Prabhus. My name is Jacob Brown, and I'm from Corpus Christi, Texas, a daily listener to your podcast, although I'm way behind and listening to them in order. Currently on episode 482. By the way, going back to Danielle's,
huh? Impressive.
And that made me remember, Danielle, if you're hearing this, we just talked about this just a few days ago on the show, this Nick Cave. Maybe she's heard it already, but that we read a letter about Nick Cave and the grief that he felt with the death of his son. What episode was it? That was
like 5 episodes ago.
Yeah.
By the way,
Which one?
Did you
You
see
got
all
it
those
there?
comments on YouTube? People were like, "Yeah, Nick Cave used to come to our songs."
I saw that. Yeah, in Brighton, England, or something like that.
Yeah, he's like a very spiritual guy.
Very cool.
An incredible little thing he said about the loss of his son.
Yeah, and how it transformed. Yeah, you got it, Mary?
All right, episode 972.
Danielle, check out episode 972, and I think that might be helpful too. Okay. So he's listening. He's at 482. Jacob. But catching up slowly but surely. Okay. First, I just want to say how life-changing and awesome Bhakti Yoga has been in my life, and how much I appreciate everything you guys do. That means so much for us to hear that, doesn't it, Raga?
Yeah, it does.
Everything.
Everybody
worthwhile.
needs a little encouragement.
Yeah. Your service is truly priceless. Thank you. And you guys are making real deal changes in mine and many others' lives. Thank you so very much. And I hope that one day to be fortunate enough to meet you in person. Yeah, please come to Super
I
Soul
hope you
Farm
like
this
us
summer.
when you meet us.
You might not like us. I have a question regarding Japa. Okay, Raga?
Yeah.
Japa means
Chanting Indian
mantras.
rosaries.
Yeah,
Mantras on the Indian rosary.
counting them on the rosary beads. I'm wondering about techniques for concentrating the mind during japa. I'm currently up to 4 rounds a day, except for Akadashi, which happens once every 2 weeks, when I'll do an extra round or 2, which I do all in the morning in one setting. That's a great practice, Jacob.
Great. When I read that, I was like, this guy's doing it. He's really working it.
Yeah. I remember reading in the Bhagavatam that neophyte devotees should focus on the lotus feet of Sri Krishna when meditating on the Lord. So I've been trying to do that for the past month or so. I realize now how hard it is to control the mind. Like Arjuna, comparing it to the controlling the wind, it's like before I know it, my mind is thinking of future events or some random thing. Yep. So I'm just wondering if you guys experience the same difficulties when chanting japa, if you had made improvements over the years in controlling your mind, and if you can offer any tips or advice for keeping the mind from dazing off. Thanks again so very much for your daily doses of wisdom and association. You guys are awesome. Thank you again. And I look forward to listening to every podcast every day. Keep up the good work. And again, hopefully I'll have the privilege of meeting you someday in the future. Okay. Raghunath.
Great question. And this is a Krishna miracle.
yeah,
sir,
another one,
because
huh?
I just said the same thing yesterday. And I asked a dear teacher about it. I just feel like I am not making any advancement over the years. And I'm going through some shifting things in my life too. And I'm feeling sadness, I'm feeling anxiety, I'm feeling some remorse. And I was just posing this question to a teacher of mine. I was just saying, I want to be more advanced. It's like, why don't I understand that Krishna loves me? Krishna's in control. By the way, you're talking about, does my japa ever get better? I'm extending this a little wider to our whole life, and our whole life being a spiritualist. So, bear with me with this analogy. Because ultimately your japa will affect how you interact with the rest of your life, your gain, your loss, your relationships, etc. So with me, I was feeling like, why aren't I a little bit more, Krishna's got this, I'm not worried, Krishna's got my back, Krishna's got a plan. Why do I feel some anxiety or some overwhelm? Shouldn't I be more advanced? And the answer my teacher said was is an answer I give everyone first, which is, you've been practicing Maya much longer than you've been practicing Krishna, which I think is a really great question. But because the person's also great answer. Yeah. And I was like, okay, I know that one.
I know that one. Give me some more.
Give me something else. And he said, actually, I've known you for 35 years. And he said, you're much more spiritual than you've been before. You're much better than you've been before. I remember what you were like. Sometimes we're traveling with ourselves and we don't notice our changes, but if you don't, just like with a little child, if you go away from that child for 4 years and you come back, you're like, wow, you got really tall. You notice the changes in a child. As we become adults, we don't notice those changes. But someone who's been on the outside witnessing you go through a process sees, wow, you're much more detached. You're very easily able to zoom out. You really put Krishna at the center of things. You're much less stressed and worried. You speak less, your mind doesn't go off a different place. You speak less for Jalpa. You're a little bit more focused. You take shelter of Krishna when you're sad. So he was just saying, no, all these things actually have changed in you. And it might appear to you that you're not getting better, but it's like watching the hands of a clock. They don't appear like they're moving, but they're moving. So the process might not seem like, man, I'm just not getting better. But everything you're saying, what's his name again?
Jacob? Oh, no.
Everything Jacob's saying is he's doing it right. He's preparing the recipe with the right ingredients. With the right measurements. He's showing up. He's waking up early. He's hearing. He's got a house. He's finding it hard to control the mind. I get that. We have a practice of being in Maya for many, many lifetimes, and so we're just undoing that stuff with this tiny little effort, 4 rounds a day, right? Ekadasi, I do 2 extra rounds. In the bigger picture thing, think how small that sounds. Especially if the rest of our day is left for Maya, all different types of distractions, etc. So we're just going through like training wheels, just to sort of like stand on our feet again, to walk forward again. And you're doing it, but sometimes you have to sit back and wait till those hands of the clock move. Obviously, you're still doing it. And the only thing I would say to do is be careful of making offenses to devotees and keeping that same humble attitude that you have. That's the way to move forward. Those two things can really make a difference. Serve devotees, don't offend devotees, and keep a humble attitude.
Yeah, you know what I like about that, Rana? Is the idea that the quality of our meditation when we sit down to chant japa, it has more to do with just those moments. It's our entire life, how detached we are, how kind we are, how we relate to others. All of that becomes important. What is Trinata Pisanichena Tadori, our humility, our tolerance, our offering respect to every living being, and our being not so petty that we want to be honored all the time. That's the formula of letting go, that when we sit down to chant, our mind's not distracted and we can absorb it deeply. So, and you kind of summed that up by saying, don't offend others. And what was the other thing you said? One, don't offend others.
Don't offend. Stay humble. Don't offend
Stay
others,
humble.
and serve the devotees.
Serve the devotees. So, and that's kind of that formula. Yeah, that'll make your chanting better, and it takes time. You're right.
Yeah.
But it moves forward. I think that's it, Virgo.
That's it. That was good. That was a fun show.
Yeah.
Good to
And,
wake up. Now
so
I'm
we're
gonna
off
get up.
tomorrow.
Now I'm gonna get out and plow with my son. He's plowing. Are you kidding? We're having like a blizzard here. We're having a winter bomb. A
Got
cyclone.
nothing down here.
You're kidding.
Actually, I heard.
All
I
right,
heard
check
rain.
out the window. Just look out the window here.
Can't see anything.
Yeah,
Unless
you
that's all
smell
snow.
white. Yeah, it is. You're sitting in the midst of a whiteout. What do you call it? What do they call these?
Bomb.
White
Hurricane bomb. What is
cyclone
it?
bomb. Wow. It's beautiful, actually. But it's serious. Anyway. Thanks, everybody, for joining us.
Hey, you know what I'm doing today, Raghunath?
Facebook, what?
What I'm doing today, people want to go. Gaur Purnima celebration today at the Bhakti Center. Genevieve's going to give the talk. Shoot the Gopis going to lead the kirtan. And they got like a coconut abhishek. You get a coconut, you get to bathe. Bathe Gaur Nitai.
Everybody gets a coconut?
You get a coconut, you pour it over Gaur Nitai, and then they fill it up with the abhishek coconut. They fill it up. They fill your coconut back up, and then you walk away
With what?
with coconut. In other words, people are pouring it on one end, it's coming out the other, and they're filling you up, refill, and then you get the coconut
It's just
water.
like one coconut. It's like the water of a fountain that's that keep on getting recycled.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's enough in there because in the beginning they bathe them with a ton of coconuts, so there's
Okay.
plenty to go
Yeah.
around.
How much coconut can you bathe?
What do you mean?
No, I'm just saying. I get it. You're not doing thousands of coconuts.
It's
Are
like
you?
every single person though can pour their coconut, and then you get a coconut back. You understand?
How many coconuts you doing? 100?
As many people as come, they could do a couple hundred coconuts. Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Pretty interesting.
That was actually my idea. I'm the one that started the coconut abhishek.
You're starting the.
And then they kind of dropped it. They
Started the
brought it
tradition.
back. But Raghunath, when you get that coconut
Yeah.
with the Maha Abhishek coconut water in it, and you drink that,
Yeah.
it's
Ecstasy.
like you go into ecstasy. Yeah.
Okay. That's 4 o'clock at the Bhakti Center. And we're having some Gaur Purnima here tomorrow, 5 p.m. So that's tomorrow at the Bhakti Center or today?
No,
at the
that's
Bhakti?
today. There's a 3-day festival there. There's today, tomorrow, the Bhagavat Shravana, and then on Monday there's another event too.
Wow.
I
All right,
think
if
this
you're
might be
listening
the
to this on Facebook, people, are they still on Facebook? Facebook people, we do this every day. Email this lady, Mara, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. She'll send you the Zoom codes. You can join us every day. Be part of our little exclusive Bhagavatam gang. We all know each other. It's really interesting. And then every now and then, others come in. If you want to be an other, you can do that too. There's less hoops you got to jump through. You just go to anywhere you get podcasts, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, and then you just sign up. You search Wisdom of the Sages. Wisdom of the Sages. If you listen to us on Apple Podcasts, write a review. Do that. I'm going to read it, check it today.
Any review will do.
No, you got to be a 5-star review.
Oh, okay.
We're not accepting 4 or 3. What to speak of 1 or 2. And if you're listening on YouTube, everybody should go to YouTube and subscribe right now. Just go to YouTube, Wisdom of the Sages, subscribe, hit that subscribe button and the bell icon. Thanks, everybody.
Look at little Snooky over there. The little Schnook.
Little Schnook.
Dancing around.
Look at Ramit.
There she is.
There's baby Schnook. Hi, Schnook.
Oh, she's doing like the B-52's swimming dance thing. That one?
It's a beautiful day for a beautiful day, people. Bye, little Snooks.